Hello and welcome to this special CNBC TV 18 segment. I am Rituparna Bhuya, and with me today is Talleen Kumar, the CEO and MD of Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor Development Corporation. Thank you, Mr. Kumar, for joining us. Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor, as I understand, is one of the world's largest industrial infrastructure development project. Now, before I move on and ask you about the details on how you are going to develop this corridor, I want to raise a basic issue. The basic issue that we want some clarity on is regarding availability of land. Now, we have a new Land Acquisition Act, and almost all stakeholders, be it state governments, be it corporate India, they have raised red flags over this new Land Acquisition Act. Now, since you are the principal developer of this corridor spread across 6 states, what is your view on the kind of changes that will be needed for this Land Acquisition Act?
Well, as I said earlier, the land acquisition is a basic issue, and land is a fundamental requirement for these industrial cities to come up.
Right.
So there has to be a process by which land is made available by the states, easily.
Right.
Unless this is done, the development of corridors and industrial cities, will not take off at the desired speed.
Does the new Land Acquisition Act, call for easy availability of land for this corridor?
It does, and in fact, up till this time, we have been working with the state governments, and the state governments have been very proactive in making land available.
Right.
But as we go along, we need a process by which there is predictability, about land acquisition, and there is a good balance between the compensation and relief and rehabilitation given to land losers, and the benefits that will accrue from land and industrial corridors and industrial cities.
So the sense that I'm getting is that as of now, you have some amount of land with you just to start this initiative, but going forward, there has to be some kind of policy intervention to ensure easier availability.
Even as we speak, I have to say that all the state governments in all the 6 states are seized of this matter.
For the past 5 years, we understand that the corridor was on the drawing boards, and now you are all set to start building this corridor. 5 smart cities, you are starting with that, be it Dholera, Shendra, Vikram Udyogpuri, or the Greater Noida Industrial Township, and even the Gurgaon Global City. Can you give us some sense of the timeline that you have in mind or that you have set for yourself to develop these greenfield smart cities, which I understand is a first of a kind initiative as far as India is concerned?
Yeah, that's right. We are looking at the first phase, the ending of the first phase by the end of 2019.
Right.
So if you look at the 8 industrial cities being planned under DMIC, 2 of them we are moving ahead. We are looking at the end of 2019 for the first phase of these cities to end.
Which means that the development of trunk infrastructure of the cities will end by 2019.
The 25 to 50 square kilometers we hope to develop by the end of 2019 in these 2 cities.
Right.
In the other cities also, if we get land now, or maybe in the near future, we will again move ahead with those cities also.
So which 2 cities are you starting with to begin with?
So I am starting with Dholera in Gujarat,
right,
and Shendra Bitkin in Maharashtra.
Right.
So Shendra Bitkin will be eventually the first phase will be over a 40 square kilometer area. And the Dholera city in Gujarat, the first phase will be over a 153 square kilometer area.
153 square kilometers.
But we kickstart with 22.5 square kilometers in Dholera, and we kickstart with 8.39 square kilometers in Shendra Bitkin.
Right. And you are releasing the tenders for
we'll be rolling out the tenders for hiring of the EPC contractors and the design build contractors.
Right.
Between December 2014 and March 2015.
And this trunk infrastructure that you are building will be basically related to sewerage, road, utilities?
Yeah, broadly you can say we are looking at 8 to 10 verticals of trunk infrastructure. Starting with roads and utilities, sewage, drainage. Then we are looking at potable water. Then we are looking at industrial water, recycling of water, flood control, storm water drainage and control.
Right.
Then we are looking at ICT master plans.
Right.
solid waste management. So a whole lot of areas.
Can you also give us a sense of the way you'll be rolling out these tenders? You told me that it will be in the EPC format. Will the DMIC trust fund it fully, or will you be taking the PPP route to develop this trunk
infrastructure? So the way it works is that initially the Government of India through the DMIC trust funds the trunk infrastructure components,
right?
The ones that I described. And then after you fund these infrastructure components, then you can go for a PPP, model where the remaining trunk infrastructure components, which then become PPable,
right,
can then be offered.
So what will be the division like? 50-50?
Broadly, we have seen if you take for example a whole city, then broadly the breakup, is about 60 to 65% is roughly, PPable.
Okay.
PPable, and 35 to 40% is non-PPable, where the Government of India has to step in.
Right. So let's talk about Dholera, because from what I have been given to understand, that in its final form, it will be about 900 square kilometers, or maybe even more.
920 square kilometers is what we have.
This is larger than Delhi.
This is larger than Delhi, larger than Singapore. So Singapore is 697 square kilometers.
So you're building a new Singapore in the Gujarat coast.
That is what the challenge is in terms of creating these new industrial cities.
Will you be looking at a concept of processing and non-processing area? Because primarily the Delhi-Mumbai industrial corridor is for manufacturing. So will you be looking at a processing and non-processing area? And if so, what is the breakup?
Well, we are not looking so much in terms of non-processing or processing, but it will pan out like that. But what we are looking at is in terms of good solid master planning, where there is a mixed land use, so that every 10 square kilometers or so is like a city by itself. So where people don't have to walk huge distances, where the city is sustainable, where the carbon footprint is lowered, where energy is conserved. So that comes out of a detailed exercise of master planning. And we are focused on master planning, and that will give us the which areas, what percentage of areas will be residential, commercial, and industrial.
So have you fixed up on a ballpark figure on what kind of an area will be reserved for residential or commercial area?
For each of these cities that we are going ahead, we have a detailed master planning which is already done and approved by the state governments. So we have a detailed breakup of land use, how much will be green area, how much will be residential, how much will be commercial, and how much will be industrial. But these are all driven by the requirements.
Right.
So we don't go to the drawing board.
So for a big city like, say, Dholera, how much percentage of land do you think will be required for commercial, and then how much of a percentage will be for, say,
I don't have the breakup off the top of my hat, but that will be at least about 30% or so in each of these areas would be for trunk infrastructure.
Right.
And the remaining will be for residential, commercial, and industrial areas.
Let us talk about the process now. Now, all these cities, have you got all the statutory clearances, be it from the state government or, say, let's say, be it from the Ministry of Environment?
See, we will not commence any project unless we have all the statutory clearances in place. For example, for Dholera, we recently got the approval from the Ministry of Environment and Forests.
Okay.
For going ahead with the trunk infrastructure. And as far as DMICDC is concerned, we will take all approvals. And that is what project development is all about. We will take all approvals before commencing on any project.
Right. Going ahead, do you feel that there is a need for captive power for the Delhi-Mumbai industrial corridor?
I mean, I'll reinterpret the word captive here. I mean, what you're trying to say is that can we have a dedicated
power
arrangement for power for DMIC region?
Right.
The answer is yes, and we have already planned for developed, I would say, 4 gas-based power projects, each one of them requiring 42 approvals.
Right.
But we could not go ahead because we didn't have the tie-up for gas.
Right.
So, including environment approval, 42 approvals.
So apart from the gas linkage, everything is ready?
Apart from the gas linkage, everything is ready. So today, if gas were made available, I can go out and bid these projects out for private participation.
Right. Have you pushed for gas linkages, and can you share the status?
We are working with the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas and the Ministry of Power,
right,
and the Prime Minister's office to make it available.
For these power plants as well, have you already bid out the power plants, or will you be doing so?
Again, if there is no gas tie-up, we will not be able to bid out. So we are waiting for the gas tie-up first, and then we can go and bid it out.
So overall investments, how much in these 4 power plants? What will be the kind of investments that will be required?
It will be through a market discovered process. So I can't put a number on that, but these power plants are of the capacity of anywhere between 1,000 megawatts to 1,200 megawatts.
Okay. Each?
Gas-based, yeah, each. But we are not depending only on gas.
Right.
Wherever we are able to, we are working with the Ministry of Coal also, so that we have a coal block, which enables us to have dedicated power for the whole DMIC region.
Right. Let's now discuss about the smart cities. Obviously this government wants to have 100 smart cities. You guys are in fact will be the first one to actually develop a greenfield smart cities. While we embark on this journey, in India till today, we don't actually have any definition of what constitutes a smart city, what are the attributes for a smart city. Has the Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor Development Corporation worked on this? Have you decided on the attributes, on the characters that is required for a smart city?
Yes, we have. We don't have a definition per se, but we have a clean list of attributes which a smart city should have.
Right.
And I'll categorize them in 3, categories. The first category is kind of a mandatory category. And there we are saying that each smart city should have a geographical master plan, which is approved, which is notified and put out in public domain.
Right.
It should also have an overall high-level ICT architecture plan, so that we know how the architecture is. This should also be approved and put out in public domain.
Right.
Then we are saying that it should have a digital master plan. So these 3 attributes are part of a compulsory category, which I call category 1.
Right.
Then we come to the other 2 categories. The second category is about resilient and solid infrastructure, which has to go along with a smart city. And this I will put into 5 categories. One is energy management. The second is water and water management. And third is transportation and traffic management. The fourth is safety and security. And the fifth is solid waste management. So all these are, we are going to do all of these in DMIC cities. And the third category 3, as I call it, is about enhancing the quality of life.
Right.
And making all these components work together.
Right.
And those are health, education, inclusion, inclusive governance. Then we are talking about participatory governance.
Right.
Then civic amenities and community services. So I would say all of these attributes, they constitute a smart city.
So how smart will be the smart cities that you guys are developing?
These will be smart so that every trunk infrastructure vertical that you see is able to work together in a much more efficient manner than it would have worked alone. Because these cities, what smartness brings is embedded technology. And this technology allows us to leapfrog because we are late urbanizers. So we have the benefit of the latest technology to leapfrog.
Which means that each of these systems will have to interact with each other.
So each of these systems, they become interconnected and they become intelligent. And they process data. And data analytics is the key because data leads to information and information leads to knowledge.
On that note, we will take a short break. Stay tuned.